Good morning, everyone. Coach Candra here with your motivating moment. This morning, I was just thinking and praying and reflecting on my own life. And I was thinking about how I was waking up a little bit weepy and maybe a little bit under the weather today. And recently, 2 weeks ago, I lost my father. And I was just processing on the thought of grief and how grief affects us in such different ways, right? And I was thinking about there's probably so many people out there that are encountering grief, and it could be a loss of a loved one, it could be loss of a job or loss of anything. Grief comes in all different forms, and it's the loss of the ending, the finality of something that you were so connected to and loved. And obviously I love my daddy so much. He was my anchor and my rock. And I was just thinking this morning about how God grieved and what does grief look like in scriptures. And obviously when you go back and you look at scriptures, grief is very different than it is today in a modern world where everything just goes so fast. And if I hear one thing real consistent, and not only in our own lives, because we'd had a loss years ago, my husband's little brother, we lost him and came through this process of grief. And it was just a horrific time of trying to process and wrap your head around finality, right? And just even losing my daddy, it's just one thing that I have heard over and over of friends who are coming through loss or grief is that how it's so hard because the world just keeps going. Your heart is back in that moment, in those last moments with your loved one, and the world just keeps going forward. And sometimes it's hard to process. It's hard to grasp your head around, because for some of us, most of us, all of us probably, I just want to sit and just be a little bit. And it's so hard in a world that's just going so fast paced that when you sit and be and still, you get behind. So I was just thinking about that this morning, and I was processing with the Lord, God, what are your promises about those who grieve and those who mourn? And I love in Matthew 5:4, I love this beatitude. And if you go and you study 5, I think it's like 1-8, it shows all the different beatitudes, the promises of God for those who are coming through situations just like grief. And in 5:4, it said, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And honestly, when I first read that years ago, I was like, what does that mean, God? And I've done a lot of study on it, and we know it goes back to quite a bit of history. There's quite a bit of history for that, but if just the simplest form, and sometimes Daddy God just wants to be simple, right? And I just took comfort in that. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And that we have permission just to say, Holy Spirit, I just need to be comforted today. I just need you to come and be in my midst and be in my presence. And I've learned through trusting in God, and I'm just so grateful that my dad knew the Lord, and I know he's with him for eternity. But you know what? We're just human beings, and loss, that's an amazing gift. I'm so grateful for that. But as human beings, we just love the touch. We love connection. We love conversation. We love to be in the presence of each other. And so we mourn that loss of that physical touch, that physical encounter with people. And so I was just thinking, I wanted to encourage you, if you're coming through a season of mourning, man, everything you're feeling is really normal. The foggy brain, the waking up weepy one day and okay the next, the roller coaster of emotions. And I just want to give you permission, as I'm giving myself permission, and I'm processing with my sisters. We're giving each other permission to just be really authentic with how we're feeling in the day. So some of the things that I think are important in grieving, and I just wanted to share them with you, is that you heal with somebody, you heal together, that you process what you're feeling and your emotions. And, ladies, we're much better at doing this than men are, but guys, you're not any different. You need to process, what are you feeling? How's your day? And so I know my sisters and I text almost every day, hey, thinking of you, praying for you, how you feeling today? And we just get to be really honest with each other and say, today I'm a little weepy, I'm not feeling the best. So just keep encouraging each other, right? We get to encourage each other in this process, and just really acknowledge what you're feeling and be honest and transparent. And you know what? It's okay for seasons in our life. I'm a really strong woman. I would say that I'm a driver, but I have to sometimes give myself permission to just not be so strong, to just kind of relax and maybe not be so strong in the day. So allow myself just to be, I used to say to my husband sometimes, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. I can only handle so much. And so give yourself permission. I want to encourage you to make sure that you're resting well and you're taking care of your body. Time heals a broken heart. I hear you hear people say that, and Mourning is a process. You have to come through it. That's one of the most amazing things that my dad ever taught us in anything that we did, is that with everything in life, you have to come through the middle to get to the other side. And so grief is real, and you have to allow yourself to process the grief, and to feel the grief, and to mourn the grief. Weep and sleep, and just be healthy about how you're mourning, and that you'll come out the other side. There will be a season where, and I think I've heard people say, where your memories become the celebration of life, where you're celebrating his life, and finding joy in those memories. And so I want to encourage you that, and be peaceful, and ask God to come and bring the comforter, the Holy Spirit, who will come to comfort you. Listen, I've just been thinking about so many people out there, and wanting you to be encouraged to know that grief isn't for a moment. There's a season. And as you come through that, reach out to somebody to come alongside of you, to pray with you, to encourage you, to comfort you. And in all else, reach out to God, who is here to be your comforter, and to speak hope and truth and purpose into the things that are ahead of you. So anyways, just thinking about you this morning, I wanted to be really honest and transparent about how I was waking up, feeling a little emotional, a little weepy, and just thinking about grief, and recognizing there's probably a lot of you out there that are encountering the same thing. If there's anything we can be doing to reach out, just to pray with you, we have our Warriors Wall. I'm going to put the link below. I want to encourage you, reach out so that we can come alongside of you and pray with you and encourage you in your day. God bless. Have an awesome day. Live life strong, and I look forward to seeing you soon.